What's up, guys? It is Chris back with another watch unboxing. Today we are unboxing the Omega Seamaster Planet Ocean. This is a coaxial 8500 movement. But before I get into it, please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. It is super helpful for the channel and I very much appreciate it. So, getting right into it, this is a watch that I've actually owned for quite some time. I believe I've had this for about 7 or 8 years. I bought it off of eBay. That was about, like I said, 7 or 8 years ago. And it came in this packaging, which I don't know if it was actually originally in this packaging or if it was just a watch that they threw into some Omega box that they had laying around. However, it does come with the actual instruction booklet. But again, you can see it doesn't really fit in here. I don't know. It doesn't feel like it's the same box, but... and then it comes with all the warranty card information. Pictogram, it just gives you information about the watch itself, all of the details, a big operating manual, and then of course inside that box you get a red box. This is a leather box, or a leather-like box. I think it is leather, just with the Omega emblem on here. And then inside we have the Planet Ocean. It just signed Omega. There really isn't anything else in the box except for a hang tag, and that just gives you a little bit more about the specs of the watch. And then, of course, you have the Planet Ocean. Now, this Planet Ocean is the 45.5 millimeter version, and I've just decided to do an unboxing for it because I never did an unboxing for this watch when I got it. I did a quick review of it, and I really never liked the review that I did. So I wanted to come back to it, and here I am. So like I said, this is the 45.5 millimeter version. They made a few other versions of it. There is a 39 millimeter, there's a 40 millimeter, there's a 43 millimeter, and then there's of course the 45 millimeter, 45 and a half millimeter, so it's almost 46 millimeter version. This gets a ceramic bezel. That was a big deal back then. Now it's very, very commonplace. This is actually a weird ceramic bezel because most ceramic bezels are scratch proof. However, this one is not. And essentially what they did was they took a piece of ceramic and then they printed on the actual ceramic. They colored that ceramic so that when you actually do get the bezel scratched, it will scratch and it'll actually show you that color which is underneath. That color underneath is that silver color, and the black is on top of it. Kind of a silly way of doing it, but the bezel itself doesn't scratch, so you're not going to get dings or nicks or anything like that. However, it is more scratch resistant than probably a aluminum bezel, but it's not scratch proof, which kind of sucks. You get a black dial on here, applied indices, the arrow hands on here, which look really crisp and nice. Polished indices and polished hands. You have orange accents, which is a little bit of a theme with the Planet Ocean. This is a thick watch. It comes in at around 17 millimeters thick with the dome sapphire crystal. And then the lug to lug is also pretty big, 52 millimeters lug to lug. But if you include those male ends on the actual bracelet, it comes in at around 57 millimeters. So a very big wingspan on here because of those the way these actually fall down. So the bracelet does not fall directly down. This is a very comfortable bracelet. The bracelet itself is sort of oval in shape. All the links are oval, and then they're polished. You have really big chunky screws in here. Double deploying clasp. Everything is milled, really nicely made. One of the nicest bracelets on any watch that I have ever handled. Hands down, I like it better than a lot of Rolexes that I've handled. Now I'm talking about just the links. I'm not talking about the clasp, because the clasp itself isn't so great. The clasp is really nice, actually, I should say, but the functionality isn't great. So it does have a diver's extension here, very nicely made diver's extension. It's very solid, as you could hear. There is no micro adjust whatsoever. So you do get half links, but it's a pain in the butt to really get this sized exactly to the way you like. And that's because you don't have any micro adjust in here. They have, they've actually corrected that in recent models where they've put sort of a little on the fly micro adjustment where there's a button that you could push underneath the clasp and then you could move this around. This doesn't have that, so obviously you're SOL if you want to get an exact fitment. You get it close enough because you can see there's a half link right there. and then the full links. You could get it close, but you can't get it exact. Screwed links on here are really nice, very big, very chunky. Huge crown on here, of course signed with the Omega logo. And then you have the helium escape valve here, just at the 11 o'clock position, 10 o'clock position. Just really nice crowns on here, beautifully grippy, big, and really good bezel action on this watch. Some of the best from a major brand diver. This is really good. So let's listen. Very, very solid. I think it's like a 90 click bezel. Very, very solid. Lines up perfectly, of course. Sounds and feels like like a tank, like you're like a bolt action on a gun. It just feels very, very good. It's just overall an extremely well-made watch. When you have it in your hands, you could feel that this thing is substantial. It feels like a very substantially made watch, like a tank really in your hands. It looks really good. And on the side you have some brushing, you have polishing. Of course, this is an old watch, so it's really scratched up. I've worn this, I cannot tell you, I've worn this a lot. When I first got it, it was pretty much all I wore all the time. This currently retails, I believe they still sell this exact watch. I'm sure it has a couple of upgrades for $6,200. It's essentially the same watch. I think it's a master chronometer now. It gets essentially the same movement, which is the Co-AXIAL 8500, 60-hour power reserve. It's just a really beautifully finished movement as well. Free spun balance, just a really good looking movement as well. Like I said, I've owned this watch for at least 7 years, and I've not had any issues with it. I've never serviced it. And I wore this probably one of the watches I've worn the most, and one of the watches that I've actually flip-flopped a lot about, because I've thought about selling it on numerous occasions and I never actually did it. And I guess the reason why is because they're easy to buy. However, at the same time, they're kind of difficult because there are a lot of replicas on eBay for these now. You have to be very, very careful if you want to buy one of these, because I think in the past few years they've actually replicated the 8500, and you will be able to find this movement in replicas that unless you have a very keen eye, or if you know the 8500, or if you have a loop and you're going to look at the finishing, it's pretty damn close. So you have to be very, very careful. Now, like I said, I bought this 10 years ago, so and this was from a reputable dealer in Japan. So this is obviously this is not a replica, but they didn't even have those replicas back then. But replicas are getting better and better, and they're targeting watches like this, Hublot, Panerai, the major players, obviously Rolex, and they have started making movements. So you have to really be careful these days. And that's why I'm sort of on the fence. I want to sell it, and then I tell myself I could just buy a new one if I really want to. But I could sell this and fund a watch that is right at the moment, that I'm crazy about. And I end up never doing it, so I don't think I'll ever sell this watch. I really love it. Let me throw it on my wrist so you guys can see. It's just a fantastic watch. 600 meters water resistance, by the way, black dial. Just a great watch. But today I am wearing Crafter Blue. So this is very similar watch, actually. This is a 600 meter dive watch, anti-magnetic, just a very chunky watch. Also 45.5 millimeters, 46 millimeters, somewhere around there. Just a really good comparison of these two watches, black dial divers. And you can see, like, the packaging on this is actually nicer than what you got with this from back in the day, from 10 years ago. This still retails for, like I said, $6,000 plus. This was a $650 watch. This is, this is not as expensive on the secondary market. Obviously, you can get this watch for, around $3,000 to $4,000, which I think is a good price for these. I don't think it's cheap, but I don't think it's a bad price for these, because you're getting a lot of watch. I think this is a lot of watch for that money. But of course, when you compare it to a micro brand, it kind of is, it's tough, because micro brands offer so much for the money. but this is an Omega. It has a lot of history behind it, and this is an extremely well-made watch. Kind of an in-house movement, not really, but kind of an in-house movement. It is made by ETA, but it's bespoke for Omega. So you can see on my 7.5-inch wrist, it doesn't wear enormous, but it does wear big. It wears big on my wrist. You can see it does sit high on my wrist. It's very thick. It's a 17-inch, almost 17-inch, 17 millimeter, excuse me, thickness on the watch. So it doesn't wear thin. And then it's a little awkward getting off and on. If you have a very big hand, you're going to have to deploy that diver's extension to get it on your wrist. Otherwise, when I was heavier, I lost 60 pounds recently. I actually had to deploy that every single time because my hands were just fatter. So now I don't need to do that, and I've actually taken out links, so it actually slips onto my wrist very easy. But if you're a big guy, this is actually tough to get on and off on a daily basis because of that. But you do get that diver's extension, so that does help. But you have a very short clasp. As you can see, the clasp is very short on here. It's small. Anyway, I'm going to do a quick loom shot. Now, the loom on here is terrible. And I've done a couple of different loom comparisons with this watch. I've compared this to micro brands, as I mentioned, and it's pretty terrible. But I will do a loom shot anyway, so you guys can see, and then we'll wrap up the video. There you have it. I mean, I say it's terrible. I say it's terrible because of the price, because this watch is like I said, it's an expensive watch. Especially if you're buying it new. This is over $6,000. They go up to $15,000 depending on the model with ceramic cases and things like that. That's a lot of money for a watch with marginal to good loom. The bezel's not loomed. The indices and hands are loomed, but it really does not compare to just your average micro brand that has tons of loom when they put tons of loom on them. I think, again, I recently did a conversation, had a conversation with, a few watch YouTubers on a live stream I did, and we mentioned that, one thing that major brands could actually learn from micro brands is the loom. They could definitely add loom to their portfolio, add more loom to these watches. It makes sense. I want to see more loom on a watch like this, especially. It wouldn't hurt, and I'm spending the money, so you could definitely add more loom. I know loom is expensive, but these watches are expensive. Anyway, please tell me what you think in the comments below. Like I said, I've tried to part with this watch, and I'm just not able to do it. I've had it for about 7 or 8 years, and I love it. But tell me what you guys think of this watch in the comments below, of Omega versus micro brands. Tell me what you guys think. I want to hear from you guys. Please also don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. It is super helpful for the channel, and I very much appreciate it. Please also follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is WatchChrisBlog. I have some links in the description. Those links are to Amazon. If you click those links and buy anything, it helps support the channel. It doesn't cost you anything extra. However, it supports the channel, as I mentioned, and I very much appreciate it. Anyway, thank you for logging on, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.